Good evening and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Minute. It's your daily show in which we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate Star Wars, a solo story 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Damon from the YouTube channel Star Wars Explained.
Thanks for closing out the week with us, Alex.
No problem. Excited to be here.
Yeah. Talking about minute 55 today. Minute 55 starts off with Lando telling Han that he can ask him anything. And then it ends a minute later with Han raking in his chips after winning the big hand of Han Solo's card game. Seems kind of obvious you would win it if your name is right there on the title of the game, but...
Yeah.
Oh, well. I guess Lando didn't know.
Well, I have questions about this droid. Because, you know, you've asked... Past guests, you've asked guests, you know, what kind of droid would you like? And I think I usually say like a 2-1B, because it'd be nice to have an in-house medical droid that could just do things and not, you know, it takes the effort out of going to the doctor if you just have a medical droid around all the time.
Sure.
And they have a, you know, excellent kind of, you know, demeanor. But this kind of floating decanter droid, I gotta say, this is rocketing up the charts here, because I really do, you know. Not only is it, you know, I'm not going to call it a chore, but not only do I have to, you know, constantly remind myself to stay hydrated, but also, like, I do enjoy a cocktail now and again. And so having a floating droid that could probably dispense both of these things, you know, essentially like a, you know, like a soda fountain droid almost, you know, it could give me water, it could give me seltzer, it could give me coffee, potentially, it could give me a cocktail. I want this droid. Tell me about this droid. Do we know anything about it?
Alex, do you know anything about it? I should defer to the guest. Do you know anything?
I have no idea. You reminded me of a real life story, but I'll save that for after our discussion of the fake droid.
Well, not much is known about it. In fact, it's just referred to as drink dispenser droid. This is the only appearance
3D.
of it. And the fact that Lando thanks it is considered unusual, because I guess most of the time people don't thank it. So it was only identified in the video on StarWarsKids.com. They did a video, every droid in Star Wars, and that was the only time it has been named drink dispenser droid. So there you go.
Oh, look at this, yeah.
I am not sure if I would want it, because my question is, who is responsible for filling the droid with liquids? Because if I have to do it, what's the point of, like...
Well,
it's like putting stuff in a pitcher and then just bringing the pitcher out to the table, and you're like, I just got to fill up the pitcher again in 2 minutes, you know?
Oh, Phillips the pitcher?
Phillips the pitcher.
Philip the pitcher.
So that's why I would, if someone else was responsible for filling it, great. But if I have to fill it myself,
well, I think
that's what I have droids for.
Yeah, the idea of it being a droid is I think it can refill itself, right?
I would think so.
That's.
So you think there's like a dock that it goes in and then it refills based on.
No, Doc was the other droid that I wanted. Now I'm thinking about getting rid of this for this guy, though.
Okay.
Or this
drink
lady.
so much.
Lando does call it love, and so I don't know what we don't know what the programming is.
Yeah, the fact that he calls it love, especially what we learn later about Lando, I don't like that. I don't like that he calls.
I think he just says that to everyone.
Yeah, he's a loving guy.
Yeah.
In more ways than one, but in good ways, always.
You know what I love is his line. Everything you've heard about me is true. That's a great Lando Calrissian style, suave, cool guy line.
Right.
It feels like something you could easily manipulate back, though. It's like, oh, well, I heard you crapped your pants 2 days ago, and it's just like, well, that's true too.
Yeah, that's true. And he would just pick up his drink, and be like, "Guilty as charged." He'd say it smoothly, and he'd like,
find a way.
All right,
he'd find a way to still make you like him.
Yeah, at least he owns it.
Yeah.
But I do like the line. It's a good Star Wars-y lines. Oh yeah, so about the droid for a second. I just noticed it was in my notes.
About that droid.
I am glad we finally see a droid which is specifically designed to sell drinks. Because it seems like something we should have seen 1,000 times already. We've been in bars, cantinas, parties, casinos, all these different places, and I don't remember ever seeing... I'm glad we're finally not seeing an astromech droid with a tray attached to its head, which seemed like the dumbest thing. That's like saying, yeah, I got a pickup truck. I bought a Ferrari and I tie a box to the back of it. You know what I mean? Like, why would you have this droid serving drinks? It's designed to fix spaceships. It's not designed as a drink selling droid. So anyway, I'm glad we finally get to see one. End of tirade. I
agree. Although I think, they're astromech droids are just known for their usefulness and utility. So, having it serve drinks is one thing, but I am glad to see a droid specifically made for that purpose. Do you think that that doesn't make sense they would be? I was like, do you think that the IG-88 heads in the cantina were droids, or are they just containers?
I assume repurposed. Yeah. But I was going to bring up that one of my favorite panels I've ever been to at a convention was at Dragon Con, where someone made a robot they called Bar2D2, and you could load liquors into it and tell it what drink you would want, and it would dispense it. Not well mixed, but it was still cool. And it was really neat seeing how they built it.
You could say, I want a gin and tonic, and it would make a drink that had gin and tonic in it. I mean, granted, like you said, not mixed properly, but
I mean, it would do the right measurements and everything as well, the correct amount of ounces, and then you just need to give it a little stir yourself. But
with voice recognition, or was a guy standing there having to enter stuff into?
I believe there was there was a touchpad that you could put in what you wanted.
Although still, I mean, it's not too much of a leap to go from. I think the leap from punching it in on a pad to voice recognition is smaller than the leap from like the technology of voice recognition is well established by this point, but the kind of translating that into the physical world and dispensing the proper amount of liquor for those things is impressive, I think.
Honestly, and that was like 6 years ago, so maybe they've updated it to have voice recognition now.
I want to find this and drink from it. Although it does remind me of the movie Short Circuit. One of the ways the demo, before number 5 is alive, they're demoing these battle bots, if you will. Like bringing it all together. And one of the things they have them do is make a gin and tonic, and so robots making gin and tonic is a well established trope. It's a part of the genre. Although I like
Tales
that
old as time.
Your go-to. You're like, wait a minute, the robot can make me a gin and tonic, which is like 2 ingredients, and it is exactly what
you're telling me. This droid can mix 2 things together.
Yeah, which are both of which are named in the drink name.
Well, even that would be impressive. Let alone one where it's like, make me a grasshopper. I wouldn't.
Right.
So. And
then it just pulls out. Like, that's where it gets.
Yeah. Sidecar. So the other thing that Lando says, which I like, he says he once won a subtropical moon by the Ocean Belt.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I looked it up. Apparently there was no more information about it. That's one of the, I guess, good and the double-edged swords about Solo is that they don't seem to have put much effort into fleshing out, because I guess the movie wasn't as popular as they would have liked. So a lot of stuff was just like, that was just a planet Lando was on. Is that
not where we meet him later at the end of the movie? Or is that a different thing? No,
that's a different place. But the Ocean thing is from one of the Lando Calrissian adventures from 1980.
Flame Bird or Flame? I'm getting it confused with I think DC Comics Bottle City of Candor continuity, but the Flame Wind of Ocean, I think was
that sounds right. There was like the Mind Harp of Sharu. The Flame Wind of Ocean sounds like something.
So did he in fact win a small subtropical moon in that story?
I haven't read that book since right before Solo came out, and I don't recall. I thought he just had like an adventure there, but maybe he did have a casino there or something. I don't remember.
I don't know if he's lying.
It's the second one. And let's see.
It is subtropical colder than tropical? Or hotter than tropical?
It looks like the Ocean
is the
system, right? Soon Lando in a minute. I can't read the whole thing right now. I'm going to read this book. I'll get back to you guys.
Okay.
No, it makes sense. It is the middle one from the thing. I do mean to go back and reread these. But I don't see what the outcome is right now. Although there is torture in here at some point, which I'm not that into.
Tell me about it.
The Star Cave of Thunbaka, though, is a fun thing to say. Thunboka.
Funbaka is Chewie's cool brother.
Funbaka, yeah. Yes, once again, I would like to read the Lando adventures and the Han Solo adventures again, and I will as soon as I find the time. When am I going to find the time?
Yeah. So Han sets down to start gambling, playing Han Solo card game, and he mentions that he say he won his ship gambling? Or oh no, he's impressed that Lando won his ship and just starts talking about his own fictional ship.
Yeah, he says he would never be brave enough to gamble with his own ship.
Yeah.
Right. With something he loved as much as his own ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. He claims to have a VCX 100, which
wows the crowd.
I'm sure I don't have to tell Alex is the same type of ship that the Ghost. That's the Rebels crew fly around in a ship. The Ghost is a VCX 100. Am I right about that, Alex?
You are correct, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
You want to embarrass myself in front of so it's and he claims it's the fastest ship in the galaxy, which seems like a really like bold claim.
That's a lot of people just say that, like offhanded, like Anakin too. I'm building a pod racer. It's the fastest in the galaxy. How do you know?
Yeah.
You are 9 years old.
Yeah.
Right. Well, at least he is 9 years old, so it makes more sense. This kid doesn't know.
Right,
he
didn't brag about stuff.
That's what I like. Molly and I were talking about this the other day, where he's like, "I'm the only human that can do it." I'm like, "How do you know that? You've never left Tatooine. You're the only human of your group of friends. Like, yeah, I guess Kitster can't do it, so you think you're the only human who can."
Although I wonder, maybe if it is in a global, if it is a galactic sport, then there's probably like, databases of all the people who have ever done it and stuff. So
could be.
Maybe someone has been like, hey, no human has ever pod raced before.
I do like the idea that he's just basing that purely on like, well, Kitster couldn't do it. My mom couldn't do it. Jira couldn't do it. Like, I'm the only human who could do it.
My mom couldn't do it.
Yeah. But yeah,
although, and also, admittedly, they do kind of play up on that because he's like, "How many races have you won?" He's like, "Well, technically none."
Right. Yeah.
So it does kind of play up that Anakin, true to form, is a bit of a braggart.
Right. Well, and then does Han ever call the Millennium Falcon the fastest ship in the galaxy? I know Lando says, calls the Falcon
because it's fast enough.
Fast enough for you, old man.
Yeah.
But does Lando says like that hunk of junk is the fastest ship in the galaxy or something like that? Like later in Empire or Jedi, I think he says.
I think he says it in Empire.
Oh, yeah. So it's interesting that he's still. Well, I mean, obviously it's his warmth, his affection towards it, but I guess maybe Han doesn't continue to brag. Maybe he doesn't feel the need to brag after once he gets hold of the ship.
Well, he certainly tries to brag to Obi-Wan Kenobi once he I would, we talked about the idea of Solo 2 being the TV show and Lando being Solo 2 and so on. I would like it if Lando and Han basically kept swapping the ship back and forward over the years. Like even stealing it from one another or like gambling it, or one of them owed the other one a bunch of money or whatever. I think that would be a fun kind of, so that by the time we see Han Solo with it, it's almost just sheer chance that he happened to have it at that time. You know what I mean? Whereas, but I don't know.
I think that's a fun idea. One of my favorite things about Legends is that they kept telling stories about Han and Lando, and they didn't know whether or not it was going to be the last time the two characters saw each other before The Empire Strikes Back. So every time they meet up, Han does something terrible to Lando to screw him over. and then they would tell another story. And I'm like, Lando, stop trusting this dude. He's like, oh, well, last time you got me, but this time I can trust you. And then he does it again. So that in Empire, it makes sense when he's like, after what you pulled, it's like, yeah, he pulled like 8 things. Right. So I like the idea that happens in that would happen in the TV show too.
Point.
Yeah.
Like if Chewbacca's in the back listing them all off, like like all these things that Han did.
I'm sure he's forgotten that by now. So yes, so this is we get to see a bit more of Sabacc being played here, and it's funny to me that we learned yesterday that they had an intense weekend of learning to play the game. When watching this, I can't figure out how, I thought they were just kind of making it all up and you just got what was going on from the context.
Right.
Like, I didn't really get the impression that this was like a real game. I mean, that has rules and stuff, at least not here in this context. So.
To be fair, I feel the same about poker. Anytime I see like poker in a movie or on TV, I'm just like, I don't know, sure. Is that better than that? Are they making it up as they go along?
Full House Pizza Flush.
Sure.
If you say so.
Is it a full Fizbin? But yes, it seems like it could be made up or it could be consistent with itself. But I think they did strive to make it consistent.
There were some rules from the Legends. It's basically blackjack, except you played a 23, and also a negative 23 is better. But then there's also the Idiot's Array, which is there are a handful of rules out there. So like you can play the Han Solo card game,
right?
It is possible.
Wasn't there what? Don't cards? Oh no, I'm thinking of what's the card game from Knights of the Old Republic? That's the one that I keep.
Oh,
every time
Sabacc,
yeah. That's the one. Every time I played that game, I got distracted by that, and I never played any of the actual game. I just spent all the time playing Sabacc, and that's the one where cards flip and can be negative and change their value and stuff like that, right? This is purely just card game.
Well, Sabacc was supposed to be able to do that too. I think we see it happen in Star Wars Rebels, but I guess that's only the digital version of the game.
That makes sense.
They don't have any gambling at I've never been to Galaxy's Edge. They don't have any there's not a casino portion.
No, not that I've seen, but I haven't been in the cantina, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be. When I was there, I didn't see any gambling happening, but wasn't really looking for it either.
I guess I was trying to think of how many times we see gambling in Star Wars. And no, we don't see a casino in Phantom Menace, but we know there's gambling going on because
we do see gambling between Watto and Qui-Gon,
but not like in a casino.
Right.
We just see kind of
side bets.
In Attack of the Clones, we see it looks like there's sports betting going on because they show the droids, races and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than gambling with their lives, I can't think of anything in Revenge of the Sith. But anyway, gambling.
Right.
Canto Bite.
Right. Yeah.
I there's more. I didn't want to just sit here and just keep going through them all because I'm sure people were.
They really should add a. I mean, I don't know. Like, do you think that they would listen? Like, how much public opinion do they think they're keeping in mind? Like, if they decided to add a gambling component, if they had a casino component to one of the Star
Disney.
Wars, I'm sure it would be in Florida because it's more likely for it to be approved for that kind of a thing in Florida, and B, it's they have more space. So if they added a kind of a casino element to this thing, you think they would model it after Canto Bite? You think they would try to lean into that and make it like kind of make it a thing, or would they just make it a new casino area?
I can't envision any. Go ahead.
I would assume they would just tack it onto Batuu somehow and probably keep it more like what we see in Solo.
I don't think they would do anything with Canto Bite because, I mean, it was not the most hated part, but definitely the most controversial part of a controversial movie. So I don't think they're going to want to put more focus on that. But I really don't think they would do any kind of gambling. I feel like that's too. To
do it with with Star Wars bucks, essentially, with Republic credits. Like you can go in and you can buy a big stack of chips or credits, and then you can gamble with those for fun, but not.
I could see it being like a Dave and Buster thing where they give out tickets that you can trade in, but I can't see it being something that adults would be interested in doing. And I don't think Disney would want adult gamblers coming to, you know, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's too.
Conversely,
if
you like, you're not going to attract adult gamblers. So you're not going to attract like the professional gambler, you know, the hardcore gamblers here. So you're going to get a lot of like, you know, families just willing to part with some money. You're going to get a lot of, you know, moms and dads, you know, just looking to blow off some steam and with no real knowledge of the way the games work, and just kind of just basically just throwing money at you. So
sure, like every casino.
Yeah, really. Anyway,
my wife and I are not infrequent gamblers, and there used to be really great Star Wars slot machines where like they would show clips of the movie and the chair would vibrate, and it was like in surround sound stereo. Super cool slot machines. And then at a certain point, they got rid of them. And coincidentally or not, I think that was around the time Disney took over. And I don't know if they were just like, we're not having, you know, we're not going to have gambling associated with our toy-driven, you know, franchise. So I don't know if that was coincidence, like maybe their license was just up and they just chose not to renew it or whatever. But it seems like, I feel like Disney would be very wary about getting involved in any kind of like, that would risk tarnishing their family vibe.
Yeah.
But
although, I feel like, I don't know, as this is turning into a whole different podcast. We're talking about sociology and, but I feel like that's becoming more of a kind of family entertainment thing, you know, as we go on. Like there's, you know, like a lot of the, you know, casinos, you know, are less kind of, you know, smoky, seedy places and more, you know, like they're less kind of, you know, catering to that, you know, Rat Pack mentality and more kind of being a family fun place. And so as that changes, I wouldn't be surprised if Disney decided to change with that.
We'll see.
Anyway.
I hope so. I enjoy gambling, so I would certainly like to go play against the the twins and Therm Scissor Punch in the gang.
Yeah,
that's what they should do, is have gambling in your gambling around a bunch of monsters.
That's something that I'm kind of like, I'd do that.
Yeah. Plus, it seems like an awesome like summer job. Is just like, you're like, okay, put on this costume and play cards against tourists. Like, that seems like a cool deal.
Yeah. I did there used to be a Star Trek a thing at the Las Vegas Hilton, and they had, afterwards you could get drinks, and I guess probably dinner at Quark's bar, Quark being a Deep Space Nine character, and they had people walking around wearing Ferengi costumes interacting with people and stuff. So that would be a cool thing, is if they open a Star Wars thing in Las Vegas, that I think would be more so than bringing the gambling to Disney.
I do not want to be confronted. I do not want to interact with anybody. I just want to visual. I want to watch it and have it happen around me. I do not want to have to talk to anybody or have people talk to me.
Life in general, you mean?
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about Disney. I'm talking about life in general.
Talking about Star Wars Celebration. I want to be there. I want to watch it. Don't approach me.
Right. Yeah.
Well, those are all the notes I have for minute 55.
Well, I have anything else? One note here that could be a bag of worms to open the show, but
is it Linda Hunt? the white worms from the beginning of the movie.
Lady Proxima. My next note was that the movie could start here. Everything that's happened so far is good. It gets us, you know, I've enjoyed a lot of it, but also the movie could start here. If you with like a little more kind of, you know, the way that the scene plays out and a little more expository dialogue, you could start out with them walking into this gambling thing, and we could know that here are the stakes. We gotta do this because we gotta get a ship, because we gotta go get this. We screwed up the coaxium deal. It's kind of like, you know, in Star Wars, where it's just like, you know, Han Solo dumped a load of spice. We don't have to see it. We just know that happened. So similar deal here, where they're after him because of that. He's got to make this deal happen. We know, you know, we would get the information that he's like, you know, he and Kira used to be together, but then they were separate for a long time as their scenes unfold. we would get, we jump right into meeting Lando. We understand his deal with Beckett as it goes on. So I feel like we would get a very similar experience if we started the movie here.
I see what you're saying, because I think this is about the point where the movie really kicks into high gear and gets better. Like Molly was talking about a couple days ago, this is a movie that I think I enjoy more and more as I watch it. I remember my second viewing, which might as well have been my first, just sitting and watching it as a fan. At the start, I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling this. And by the end, I had a big smile on my face. And I do think that just over the course of the movie, it gets better and better. And I really like the train heist, but still, I think it's after the train heist that I start to get pulled into it a little more.
Yeah, I mean, there. Don't get me wrong, though. There are a lot of things that I like in the first hour of this movie. But I'm also then kind of looking at it and saying like, all right, well, all the things that we've learned about the characters and all the developments that we've had could pretty much could be excised more or less. The only thing, we know that Han Solo knows Chewbacca from a previous thing. It was nice seeing that part, but it was not kind of integral to this movie. It's a thing that, neat little thing to see for the saga, but like for this movie, like you could start the movie here more or less.
I really, really wonder what this movie would have been like as a Disney Plus series instead, if they had that on the table at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this would be
tantalizing.
We were trying to mark that because right around the end of the first half hour, it seems like almost like they had this in mind. Right around back up through my notes, that they leave right about minute 26 or so. So that's give it a half hour or so for the first episode. Right around the end of minute 25, it looks like they leave Mimban and head to Vandor for the Convex job.
So the first episode is the stuff on Corellia up through meeting the gang.
Right.
Second episode is the train heist.
Second episode is the train heist up until then you get the same thing up until I'd say give it a half hour, and you get to here. You give it to, let's see, where did they leave here? They left 53. So that's almost exactly a half hour, and you get to the arrival at the fort at Ipso, Lodge at Fort Ipso. So this is episode 3 now that we're in, which starts off with them arriving here and talking to Lando. So let's mark another half hour. Let's keep an eye out for minute 84 or so.
And they probably could have let things breathe a little more, because like this movie tries to do so much with Han's origin that I feel like I really like the card game, and I was like, I kind of wish we got to see more of that. So they could have just expanded everything a little bit more, spent a little more time in all these environments. I think that would have been really fun.
Yeah.
I know it would be interesting. I know this will never happen, but if they recut and edited stuff in and turned the, basically, I think Quentin Tarantino did that with the Hateful Eight. He did a Hateful Eight movie, which was like 2 hours and change, and then he expanded it into like a 6-episode series by adding deleted scenes and stuff like that. So that would be an interesting thing, is if they could, patch in some of the stuff they had to cut out for time, and then expand it a bit more and make it into a 5-episode series or something.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah,
I like the idea of, like you were saying about them starting the film at this point.
Right.
It would just be a very different film. Like you wouldn't have. Personally, the stuff I don't like about the movie is all the stuff that you're talking about cutting out. All the this is how he got his gun, and this is how we have to show him meeting Chewbacca, and we have to show him on Corellia. Like all that stuff that I'm like, who cares?
Right.
Like I would much rather just be a good, solid adventure story rather than the origin of Han Solo. So
right.
I'm all for starting the movie at this point.
All right. So we're going to start over. We're going to scrap everything we've recorded.
Let's make this be minute 1.
Your episodes are out. We might contact you for later in the movie.
Okay.
We'll do our edit of the film.
Right.
Well, all right then. So Alex, this is our last minute together with you. Do you have any other thoughts on Solo you wish to share? We mentioned L3 earlier in the week. Molly mentioned she liked L3. How do you feel about L3 or any other character in the future?
L3's okay. She makes me laugh. I really, really love everything on Kessel. The heist is super fun. The droid uprising, I think, is hilarious.
Golden Tony.
And I love the actual Kessel run. So yeah, I really enjoy this movie. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie, but it's always a fun time. It's like good, easy watching to just like throw it on in the background and have it on. It's comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that it's not galaxy-wide stakes.
Yeah.
That's my new restaurant in Oldham. Galaxy-wide stakes. It's a personal story, whereas Star Wars, the numbered episodes, I guess, tend to be more
and Rogue
the fate
One.
of the galaxy is in our hand, and Rogue One, So, well, all right then. I guess that will wrap up minute 55 and our week with Alex from Star Wars Explained. People, what's the best way people can check out your show?
Just go to YouTube and look for Star Wars Explained. We got a big yellow logo. You can't miss it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, then. I guess that'll wrap up minute 55. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And let's see. What can we plug today? Usually I write it down ahead of time. But hey, you know what? Check out the Underdog Night Soldiers. Who are they, you ask? They did our closing theme this week. This season, I meant. This whole year. So, yes, you can find them on Spotify or Apple Music or any place where you can get music these days. So, thanks, everyone. We'll see you on Monday with another brand new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.